You have a giant painting problem and you don't even know it. Steve Mitchell, what are you going to do today to help us solve that giant painting problem?
Well, your paintings have got to look natural. They've got to be integrated. Everything's got to work together. And watercolor has this problem. It
So
sometimes
by
looks,
that, you mean they got to be believable.
yeah, they got to be believable. They've got to be look organic because it's landscape after all. That's organic, right?
All right.
So you got to make it look believable. Watercolor doesn't always facilitate that.
Okay.
So
So today we're going to teach in watercolor, which everybody
yes,
needs to learn. Okay. And we're going to
got
make our
several
paintings more.
techniques that are easy to learn.
Okay. So you're going to help us make our paintings more believable in watercolor.
Yes, I
I
think
like
so.
that. Okay. Now that we've got that figured out, let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose.
Our guest today is Steve Mitchell, and Steve is an incredible artist. Let's look at some of his work right now. Now, that's very believable. That is pretty incredible. If Steve could show me how to do something like these, I would be a pretty happy camper. Look at that. Now, that's what I want to learn. Yeah, this is what we need. Wow. A lot of different approaches to this, but Steve's an incredible rock star painter, and he's going to be your guest artist today teaching you. And this is Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon, and we're going to get right to Steve and right to the lessons. Steve, looks like you've already got your painting done. What's the deal?
Well, this is fine, but it's not, to me, natural enough. Okay.
Okay, well, it looks pretty good to me. So tell me what you see that's wrong with it.
You see these backgrounds here, that these could be brush lines or tree lines, and watercolor presents us with these hard lines and edges. Okay, you can see them right there. And what we want to do is make it look more like this. And this started out the same way as this.
Well, I have that problem, Steve, is that sometimes I paint in watercolor and I get a hard edge, and no matter what I do, I can't seem to make it go away.
Well, you can start softly, and watercolor is kind of famous for that. This may be a soft start, for example, but this is not what trips people up. What trips people up are these cutout shapes. And what we want to do is make everything work together so that it looks natural. I mean, you came up with the term. I think it's brilliant.
I do have that problem, a brilliance problem from time to time. Yes. So, Steve, you said it, but it looks like cutouts. Would you explain that just so people understand?
See how this looks like a piece of paper that's been cut out and just slapped down?
That's true. This hard edges.
There's no shadows. There's no integration. I want to keep this nice contrast. This might be an upstanding area like trees that go up. This might be a flat area like a field or a hill. And the contrast is going to be very different. This is going to be light. This is going to be dark. But we want to blend those in some way. We want to integrate them in some way and make them feel more natural. And this is not what you normally see, although this is fine in a stylized way. So I've got several techniques that are really easy to learn to start to pull things together, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Are we starting with this or to fix it, or are we starting from scratch to know how to do it from the beginning?
We're going to do this. I'm going to work these areas that I'm not satisfied with to look more like this.
Okay.
This, and this.
All right.
The first thing I like to do is just washes that overlap. This is a great technique. So many watercolorists are used to the wet and wet soft blends, and you can do that. But I like to take and just put down washes that are glazes and layers. Glazes and layers are fantastic. It's the really key way.
So you know what?
Painting.
So I have to be translator here because guys like you know this stuff so well that sometimes you use terms that beginners or early stage painters don't understand.
Yeah,
What
and
the
I'm
heck
sorry
is a
about that.
glaze and what the heck is a layer?
It's a glaze is a layer. A layer is just a very transparent wash of paint. Let me just show you. This is a layer, and what I want to do is lay it right over the bottom of this tree line here. Notice it's very transparent and very light. So this is what transparent watercolor, we're not using gouache today, is all about. But in coloring this area here, I'm also going over this, and because it's transparent, it's darkening the paint that was underneath it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think.
And what I've done, though, in doing that, is I've created yet a whole nother shape, another value area. This part of that tree line here, which is very interesting. Now we're starting to look a little more natural. There's going to be tone. Tone is just paint, a darker value.
Hey, Steve, we have a milestone.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
And this is the first. You ready?
Yeah.
We have never had somebody tune in that we know of from Istanbul. Welcome, Istanbul.
Wow.
If you guys are watching, make sure you tell us where you're watching from.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I've never been
What
to
an
Istanbul.
amazing world we
I've
live
wanted
in,
to go. Steve, let's go on a painting trip to Istanbul.
Wow. So now I have a wet wash here, but what I've done is a couple things. I've killed some of that bright contrast, but I don't want to kill it all. But I've also created this other value here by darkening it with that same shape. So I've already created some natural organic integration. Now I have a wet shape. If I want to, and here's going to throw one of these terms out, but I'll define it.
All right.
If I want to charge, that's to take paint and put into a wet shape, and it does this. That's called a charge.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah.
In my 200,000 years of being in the art world. I never heard
it's
that
just
term.
wet. Most people are familiar, if they've done any watercolor, they're familiar with wet in wet. It's just a small.
I'm glad you told me that, because I'm going next week. I'm going to New York to speak for the American Watercolor Association, and if I started talking about charging, I'd probably say, "Look, I want to charge your credit card," and they'd go, "No, that's not what charging is."
That's right. Now already we've got a lot more natural area, but I've maintained a lot of the same contrast. If I want to make this edge more realistic, I can do that now just by adding a few little things. But I'm going to let that dry so I can go on down here. And we're going to do the same thing. These are washes. Just to keep it simple, these are washes or applications of paint that overlap.
All right.
They fill in. I'm going to get a little warmer with my color because we're coming forward in the painting.
Okay, you guys, do you know what getting warmer means? What some colors are warm and some colors are cool. And as a result, if you were to look at the color wheel is kind of broken into warms and cools. If we can bring that up real quickly. So you can see the warm colors are at the top, the cool colors are at the bottom. So when you want to warm things up, you make them feel warmer and closer, you put warm color in. Okay.
Yes. You can see how this green, which would be closer to the warm colors, because it's a yellowish green, is warmer than this blue and this purple. But it also is a function of distance. The further in the distance you go, the less contrast there is, and the cooler the colors.
All right. So, hello, Northern Ireland. Joe, welcome. There's a question in here, and it's how do we avoid unwanted bloom? I don't know what that means. What is bloom?
The bloom is a wet, very wet wash put into a damp but drying wash, and it produces what's called a cauliflower or a backwash. Those are all the same term: bloom, backwash, cauliflower. This is an intentional one right here.
Oh, okay.
It just pushes the pigment back, and usually it's because a wash has been applied and it's starting to dry, and then somebody goes in with too much water on top of that.
Ah.
And then it just if you're not expecting it and don't want it, they're not fun to deal with.
And
A lot of artists,
can you get rid of it?
not really. I mean, you learn how to avoid them. The best way to learn how to avoid them is just to try to make them, because then you learn the circumstances that
All right.
create them.
Do you have another piece of paper nearby? You can show us how to make one and then how to avoid it.
Yeah, actually, maybe this was still wet.
All right.
And if I add water to this, which is damp, but it's not very wet, but if I put a lot of water, there's a bloom right there.
Ah, you guys, all right. We learned something
Looks like
new.
it looks like a stain, if
Yeah.
you're not wanting it, it's like,
Looks like there's been a coffee cup sitting on there.
Yeah. Now you can, if you catch it while everything's still damp, you can blend it out a little bit. I don't worry about them too much in landscape because they can help. Hey, here's that term again. They can help your painting look more natural.
Yeah.
And
could you blot it with like some paper towel or something?
You can blot it. And if you blot it, it picks all that up.
Yeah.
I actually use that a lot for wet lifting, lifting pigment to get highlights. So,
hello, Costa Rica. Welcome. Man, you're pulling them in, Steve. You're just like an international magnet.
That's fun. That's really fun. And I'm doing the same thing as I did up here. I'm just creating these layers of paint, and I'm painting over the previous layers and creating a new shape, a new value shape.
So you're not covering the old shape, you're putting a new shape within the old shape.
Because this is all very light transparent. Now, compared to what we had, we're starting to get some more natural looks. I'm just going to see if I can blend out that bloom a little bit, although it really wasn't bad. And I mean, I could spend, I'm not going to, but I could spend the rest of the time just doing these neat little washes. Here's and again, you're pulling color together. There's no real soft blends here.
Yeah.
These are just ways to make the different, I call them landforms. A landform is just like a grouping of brush, a grouping of trees. Just make them work together.
Tessa says, Steve Mitchell is one of my favorite watercolor painters. Great to see him. Thank you for having him.
Oh,
that's
nice.
From Tessa Clark, Kingston, Ontario, Canada.
Thanks so much for showing up and watching.
We bring all the rock stars in, Tessa.
Another thing I might do is with the same process is shadows. I intentionally did not finish or paint those. So we want to get some shadows here on the ground from these trees and then just bring them into this light area. Now this part of the ground is looking more like it relates to this part of the ground. And that's what it's all about, Eric. It's relationship. It's natural looking relationship.
Yeah, you just primarily just use one brush?
I may switch to a smaller one. These limbs here, I would use a fine brush like this.
Okay. My problem is I love to buy art supplies, and so I have like 500,000 brushes.
Yeah, you and me
And
both.
with watercolor, you don't really need them. And you
No,
don't need that many with oil either, but
that's very true. And you end up finding your favorites, and then the
I
rest
was
just
doing a
sit.
painting last night, and I have next to my easel, I have my easel brush clip, and I have a big brush holder. It's got 50 or 60 brushes in it, and I could not find the brush I wanted. And so I went to my cabinet where I have another 100,000 brushes. I was in Russia many times, but I was there years ago when the exchange rate was favorable, and you could buy sable brushes for $1 each,
Oh wow,
and they were
that's where
good
they come
ones.
from, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I bought $1,000 worth because I thought I'm never gonna get that kind of a deal again.
Yeah.
So I have all these sable brushes, and so I needed a sable last night. I went and got it.
Nice. So I can continue doing the same thing. A lot of this is just stop,
Noodle.
look, decide if it looks natural to you. You know, let me just also make a pitch here for you need to inform yourself with reference. I'm not painting from a photo right now, but I have, and I've spent a lot of time outside and with good reference. These are not tricks that are just going to automatically paint landscapes for you. They're tools, but you need to inform yourself with real reference. So it's like when I put a wash down here to make this ground look better, it's because I've seen it and painted it a dozen times, 10 dozen times.
10 dozen times.
That's right. All right. So
So
that
here's
was
Carl S., who is the king of great questions. Can you get the cutout shapes to have soft edges by applying the same value along the edge? Great question.
you can try, but you will get still another edge. You'll just get another edge. Here's a soft edge that's all been done. And if I paint over this, unless I use more water, I have a similar value, but you'll be able to tell to a certain degree. And I've done that. It works, but you're going to create some kind of an edge. And if you really love that soft wet edge, you don't want to do a lot of that or you'll destroy it. If you've already got the hard edges like I've been showing you, you're going to create this overlapping edge anyway, but the bottom can be softened. So I guess to answer your question, yeah, sort of, in a limited way.
So what are you going to do in the next 10 minutes? Because we're going to take a quick break. I want to tell people what to wait around for.
All right, I've got a second technique. After we've done these overlay washes, then we're going to go in with some details. And I'll show you how I do that.
Okay, great. Terrific. So guys, our guest today is Steve. Steve is doing an incredible job, Steve Mitchell. And we're going to be back with another technique in a second. But first, I want to tell you, we've got a free gift for you. And all you got to do is go to this website for it. That's all you got to do. What is the free gift? Well, show it on the screen. Where is the screen? Okay. Well, I can't find it now. I'll give it to you in a minute. There it is. It's American Watercolors Watercolor Mastery Book. It's free for you, americanwatercolor.net/ebook. Okay, make sure to get that. Okay, now the other thing is if you subscribe to this program, you go on YouTube and subscribe, it's going to help. And so what we would like it is if you just go to YouTube, look up Art School Live and hit the subscribe button, and then you can join us for that. Okay, we'd love it. You get notified when we subscribe. Now, I want to tell you something. I I love to paint plein air. Plein air painting, if you don't know, is going outdoors and painting. I love, the best part about it is I make a lot of friends. I'm being creative. I get to go to cool places to paint. And so I used to be a photographer, and I would travel the world and photograph things. I'd go, I'd drive to these places and I'd go there, I'd snap a picture, and then I'd leave. I didn't enjoy them. When I started painting, I'm there for a couple hours usually, and sometimes longer. And I'm meeting people and I'm seeing things differently. I'm watching the animals and hearing the sounds. And, plein air painting is a pretty amazing thing. And so I love plein air painting. So I started a thing called the Plein Air Convention. The Plein Air Convention gets us all together, gets about 75 or 80 of the top instructors in the world teaching on 5 different stages. And then we go out and we paint together in beautiful places. And this year we're going to Lake Tahoe and Reno. And so we're going to be painting in Lake Tahoe, Reno, the High Sierra Mountains, and we're going to be painting in Virginia City, which is an old Western town. And it's coming up in May, and there's still a few seats left, so you might want to check it out. It's called the Plein Air Convention. Here, I've got this promo I want to show you from Virginia City. This is back when I did films back in the old days. Well, howdy, partner. Reckon you're wondering what a cowboy like me is doing talking about painting. Truth is, I ain't just here to wrangle cattle. I'm here to wrangle painters. This here's Virginia City, one of the paint out locations at this year's Plein Air Convention and Expo. And let me tell you something, it's got more character than a saloon at midnight. More textures than a tumbleweed in a windstorm. And more inspiration than a cowboy at the end of a Clint Eastwood trilogy. You'll be stepping into the Wild West with your easel in one hand and your paintbrush like a 6-shooter in the other. You want a backdrop for killer painting? You'll be painting right in the middle of an old Western town. Historic buildings, wooden storefronts, a real deal steam train, and more cowboy charm than a John Wayne double feature. But seriously, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to paint a scene straight out of the past with a modern twist. You, your brush, and the best plein air painters in the world right beside you. Now, I ain't just hollering about Virginia City for the scenery. Here's why I think y'all should saddle up with us for the whole Plein Air Convention and Expo. You're getting world-class instruction from 75 or 80 of the top artists teaching you their best-kept secrets on oil, watercolor, pastel, wash, acrylic, you name it. And you won't just watch, you'll paint right alongside the pros, out in the field, on location, boot deep in inspiration. And let's not forget about all the artists you'll meet, folks who speak your language, share your passion, and become your art posse for life. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, you'll walk away with new techniques, new confidence, and a fresh fire in your belly. And remember, you'll also have access to our Art Expo, a whole marketplace of art supplies, demos, and expert advice. You'll find stuff that actually works. No more wasting money on snake oil. Bottom line, you'll come back from this convention a different kind of artist, more fired up, more skilled, more connected. And you'll have the kind of memories you don't just paint, you'll have the kind of memories you treasure. So what do you say? Dust off those boots, grab your brushes, and meet me in Reno and Lake Tahoe this May for the Plein Air Convention and Expo. And to make things a little bit more exciting, we're going to paint Virginia City in our finest Western duds. All right. Need to join us. Hey, Steve Mitchell, let's go back and do this new technique. What are you going to do now?
All right. Well, I just call this bits and pieces. And this is just adding detail. And usually detail is seen on the edges where contrast is. You see something that's dark, very light. Where those dark and light meet, you will see detail. That's where I focus my time. So they're just small. They can be linear lines, like you're drawing a line. They can be just little pieces of color, but I keep them near edges. Sometimes I'll, these things here, I'll sometimes put them out where there's lighter areas, and you don't need many of them. And you're starting to pull those parts of the scene together. Now, one of the tricks, not really a trick, but one of the things I like to talk about and focus on is adding little bits of selective contrast. And I hope that's not too much of an insider term, but it's just making a part darker where you see there's a light edge there or light area. Then just go in and enhance that contrast a little bit, very selectively. And now your eye is pulled into there like there's a little bit of detail. And I'll do this all around. Go try to match some of the color and intensity or darkness of what's already been laid down. So it doesn't have to be bold. It can be very subtle.
Hey guys, tell us where you're watching from. Our guest today is Steve Mitchell, and he's a rock star, and you're learning a lot. I know it. If you didn't see the beginning, you got to turn around and watch it when this is all over. All the replays of all of our 5 years worth of shows are on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and make sure to subscribe to our channel, Art School Live. All right.
One thing you want to make sure to do is leave calm areas. That's a form of contrast. Busy and calm. You know, light and dark is not the only form of contrast out there. So you don't want everything to be detailed everywhere.
So give us an example of a calm area in this painting.
Right here, some of these underbrush here, some of this light value. So it can be real tempting, especially you get into an area and you say, oh, that little bit of detail right there looked great. And then you just do it everywhere.
So I learned something. I don't know if you believe this or not, but I learned that horizontal lines create calm, vertical lines create energy. And so having a nice big piece of horizontal like you have in there really makes a nice difference.
I think so. Yeah, and I tend to think of lines and diagonals as leading the eye through your piece. That's another way I look at it. I was a graphic designer for 35 years, so I look at everything like a design.
Still do that? You still do graphic design?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay.
I'm semi-retired, so now all I do is paint and YouTube.
Nice.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. It's fun doing YouTube, isn't it?
It really is. I just very much enjoy it. The viewers I have are just wonderful.
A lot of work.
It is.
Everybody thinks it's easy. But
the
goal is to make it look easy.
I had my channel for this June will be 11 years.
Wow.
I think if I went back to the beginning and know what I know now, I'm not sure I would do it. It was a lot of work, but it has been rewarding. So I can't really complain.
Well, the best part for me is that we have touched millions of lives and got people painting that never thought they could.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I'm sure you've done the same thing.
Well, I try to.
And you're going to be teaching at the Plein Air Convention this year.
First time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I was
You-
very excited to be asked.
You
Last year in Cherokee was my first pace.
Yeah, well, we met
And
last year briefly at
briefly,
Cherokee,
yeah.
and it's like we're like, hey, you got to come do this.
I'm surprised you remember, but yeah, because you had to shake the hands of a lot of people. So
I'm
I'm
like
impressed.
an elephant. I never forget.
It was wonderful. I had a
Especially
wonderful time.
a big star like you.
Yeah. Well, all I'm doing is the little bits and pieces around these contrast areas, and it just makes. And they don't have to be softly blended. We don't have the same luxuries that oil painters have to just fuzz out an area. Well, that's not entirely true. You can a little bit, and I meant to. If I had time, I was going to show that. This is a little bristle oil brush. And it can act as a scrubber. And if you want to soften an edge, this is an edge right here. Just a little bit of water, no paint. Depends on the paint. Some paint stains more than others.
So you
notice how I
a
just
brush that can apply a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's stiffer and it acts in a little bit more abrasive way.
Oh.
So I just softened that right there. So you can't. It's a technique you don't want to get carried away with, because if you do too much in too big an area, it will look like everything's been scrubbed. But you can soften small areas, and you can even pick up a little bit of paint. Like if I want to highlight here, can scrub that a tiny bit, and I'll just blot it, and you see you have a little bit of a highlight.
Have you ever tried to use an eraser over paint? I wonder if that does it work?
It does. It will lighten it. Want to see?
Yeah, have you got one? Sure, why not? Oh,
this is just a soft. This is just a soft eraser. Tell me if you can see this. Okay, we'll do it right here. Doesn't do a lot, but it's lightened that.
Yeah. So if you put more pressure on it, you could probably get it to go all the way down to the white.
And you'll want to use an electric, probably like this.
Yeah.
It's not doing a whole lot right there, but
I don't know. Somehow that sound reminds me of going to the dentist.
One last thing, and this is sort of part of this bits, and I could keep working on this forever. This sort of this bits and pieces technique is I already alluded to it, but is lines. In watercolor, sometimes they'll call it calligraphic strokes. Calligraphy just means beautiful writing, but you're not really writing. You're just adding interesting lines. Let me show you something that's already been done. These were studies. This is a study of this same composition. I love pulling lines out of these darker areas and into the lighter areas. And they can just really make a piece sing. Sometimes you can surround areas with little bits of line, and they look like chunks of rock or separated ground.
I'm going to tell you guys, got a big event with Kathleen Dunphy later this afternoon. We're going to dig into some cool ideas on technique. That is today at 2 p.m. Eastern. So soon after this program, and Kathleen's going to be my guest, and we're going to dig into her brain. So make sure to join us for that. Just go to streamlineartevents.com/Dunphy. We'll also put that in the comments.
What a fantastic artist.
Oh, so good. You're nothing to sneeze at. You're pretty good too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Pretty more than fantastic, actually.
I saw an original of hers at SUI. I don't know if you probably know what SUI is.
Oh, she was the featured artist at SUI last year.
Yeah. Oh, it was just mouth watering. My wife will tell you I had to go back and look at her painting about 5 times.
A little late here, but what is the size of the paper you're using?
So this is just arch block,
All right.
6 by 12 roughly.
Okay.
And I just chose this for these pieces and studies I've been doing because I wanted to just felt like doing something very horizontal.
Okay.
I don't always do
I
it.
like 6 by 12s.
Yeah. And
Now, do you prefer a particular type of paper, not brand, but type like hard
100% cotton.
100%
Always.
cotton?
Always and forever. And
Always
a lot of people
forever.
will say, well, a lot of beginners, well, I'm just going to practice on cheaper paper, celluloid, watercolor paper, but they don't act the same. So whatever you learn is going to be hard to duplicate. The papers act like 2 different papers.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Paper makes such a difference in watercolor.
And from here, it's adjustments, and it's some of those same beginning washes I told you about, but maybe smaller, so I can darken. And I use the layers a lot. You know, if I want to change a color, we got time. Let me show you that. So if I want to add some color in here, get a nice transparent wash of yellow ochre maybe, and come in here and let's tint that. It's not darkening it that much, a little bit. And what I'll do is just carry it right down into my lighter ground.
Very subtle.
Added some color interest right there, but it's subtle, yeah. Maybe here, when I brighten that or yellow that up a little more. But I'm also I think I want to carry that right out here. As we get into where the brush starts, you know, it'll darken a bit. Shadows, I can do a lot on this piece with shadows. So go back on the one that I started here. Let's just add some more. These are nothing but transparent layers. That's still wet where I added this yellow, and that's perfect because I can come in here and it just bleeds right in. Just like magic.
Magic.
We look for those magical moments that we can claim as brilliance. In reality, they were happy accidents.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's the ability to spot a happy accident. Sometimes that's what.
Well, the more you have them, the more you can set the conditions for them. You know.
That's right. So, do you use gum Arabic as a medium very often? Asks Susan Nelson.
Never.
Never.
I don't. I have experimented with it. I've never found any real practical use for it. Some people actually use it as a mask of sorts. You paint it on first, rather than a latex mask.
Yeah.
I've never, really found a use for it. Sometimes if you can like coat it like a varnish over something, it might intensify the colors a little bit, but it also makes them shiny. So I don't like to do that.
Yeah. If you guys are new here, we're here every weekday at 12 noon Eastern time. We've been here since COVID, over 5 years, and done over 1,300 shows. We love having you guys here. If you're new, we would love it if you subscribe. Go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button. You may be watching on many other platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitch or X or, you name it, Instagram. But we'd love it if you would subscribe on YouTube. Ed helps us actually, and we need all the help we can get. Most people say, well, just subscribe because it's good for you. Well, it is, but it helps us too. Steve knows this because he's got a YouTube channel. When YouTube sees you guys involved with us, making comments and stuff, they push us out to more people. We like that. Did you go over your tools? I guess you don't have a lot of tools. You have 3 brushes.
Yeah, so far I've only used this. This is I will make, this is a number 12 round. Now I will make the comment that it's called a long round. You can get a round that's a little more blunted. I like this because it comes to such a point, and there are several makers that make long rounds. A designer round is another term sometimes you'll find. But the number 8 that I also use is a long round.
All right.
So yeah, just for what I've done today. Now, if I were to do these tree limbs, I would probably switch to this. This is a number 4, or even a rigger liner, which looks like this.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So
very nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions? Is there a stamping technique tool for tree foliage? Asked Carl, the great questionnaire.
The stamping technique I used was, wait for it, ta-da,
a brush.
And the way I did it was just some little side swipes. You can even go in with, well, since you mentioned stamping, you can just kind of stamp. But this was meant to be like sparser.
Yeah.
Just spring foliage coming on. So
yeah, but that's helpful because a lot of people don't know about stamping.
Yeah.
I use stamping a lot in oil painting.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I can create some really interesting tree shapes that way.
And you really should, you painters out there, experiment with your mark making. You just have to experiment. I mean, and spend a lot of time doing it. You don't even have to be painting anything. I mean, maybe you could say I'm painting a tree or whatnot, but mark making is an important part of doing any kind of art. Use the tip, use the side, scrub back and forth, see what happens. Hold your brush back here on the end, and it makes the tip dance a little more.
Use the handle.
Yes.
You can scrape in with the handle.
Oh, yes. That's right. Now, this is a dull one, some of it, but it works too. You can get the sharp handled ones. Experiment with that mark making. It's so fun to discover.
Elizabeth Mitchell is asking, are you using mostly transparent colors?
Yeah, these are almost all transparent. The yellow ochre is considered opaque, not gouache opaque, but watercolor opaque is still fairly transparent, but that's the most opaque color. I'm only using 6 colors here. If you want to can talk about this. This is a butcher tray palette. I didn't use this quinacridone lake. This is called Dragon's Blood, which is just like a burnt sienna. Yellow ochre. This is a hooker screen. This is a phthalo turquoise, and this is indigo.
All right.
Of those 6, I really have only used 4 colors here, maybe 5.
Yeah, I find that the less color I use, the more colorful my paintings become.
I think that's true, and you're not, too many colors to choose from just gives you analysis paralysis.
Boy, I've had that.
As have we all.
I'm doing a painting of a Native American girl because I got inspired when I went to the art show at the Briscoe, which was fantastic. And it was like, I was rocking it. It was coming out great. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to become famous from this one. And Then one or two brush strokes, I completely ruined it and I couldn't get it back. I had to scrape it down and start over.
Oh man,
It's just so delicate sometimes.
disheartening. Yeah, yeah.
You guys watching, make sure you tell us where you're watching from. And if you're new, tell us you're new. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. And we want to tell everybody to make sure to subscribe to Steve's YouTube channel as well. Steve, what's it called?
Mind of Watercolor.
Mind of Watercolor. All right. We have to help each other.
Absolutely.
Do you have Diane wants to know, do you have a favorite color?
One, I don't really have one. On this palette, these 6, it would be this probably, although I didn't use it much today, it'd probably be this burnt sienna-ish color.
Dragon's Blood.
Like I said, this one's called Dragon's Blood,
Yeah.
but that's essentially the same pigment.
Ask me what my favorite color is.
What's your favorite color?
Opera pink.
Oh, really?
in watercolor. I like to put like an underpainting.
Oh, yeah.
I do that. I put a pink underpainting in a lot of my plein air pieces, and I've been doing it in watercolor, and it's just really a nice color.
Interesting. So these details are fun. I have a thing that sometimes I talk about on my channel. Don't get detail drunk.
What's that
And I sort of hinted at it before as we were talking. It says you can come in and you can do a detail and you can say, oh man, that looks great. I love it. And then just do it everywhere. And you can spend too much time detailing. You need to step back and look at the major value shapes, the major ways in which the different groups of things in your painting are coming together. See what it needs. Put something in there because you feel like it needs it, not just because it's a detail.
All right. Somebody asked for the link to the watercolor book. Here you go. Free, americanwatercolor.net/ebook. And while you're there, make sure to get American Watercolor free. It's a newsletter. Steve, it's looking really good, man. You're a rock star.
Thank you so much.
If I could paint like you, I'd start my own YouTube channel and compete with you.
Well, I was just very excited to be here. I was here once, but Mandy Tice was the hostess.
Yeah, she's been helpful in filling in. During COVID, I could show up every day, but now that I have, I'm back, we're back and I have a real job and I have to show up places. I can't be here every day. It's tough.
Sure.
I don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how you do it, my friend.
Well, I just have to do it.
Yeah. You're something else. Everybody says so, and I can see it.
Looking good.
I love to find these areas where we put down a wash sometimes and just add a little bit of a shadow. One of the tips I always give is shadow sink in watercolor, or in landscape, shadow sink. And all that means is that when you have a shape of any kind, be it a bush or a piece of tree, clump of tree foliage, or even a rise of ground, because the light's overhead, your shadows are going to be at the bottom. It's kind of a duh thing, but you'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't be. You wouldn't be, but a lot of people are surprised how obvious that is, and then they just like, oh, well, of course. Shadows are always at the bottom of things.
I'm not that intelligent. I'm easily surprised. Hello, Australia.
Nice.
You're pulling them in, man. I'm going to have you on more. You're going to build my numbers. We hit, it's an amazing thing to me, and you've experienced this, but we kind of went from, it took us like a couple of years to get to a couple 100,000 views. And then all of a sudden we jumped from a couple 100,000 to 1 million. And then we jumped from it in almost less than 1 year. We jumped from 1 million to 10 million. And
Wow.
I don't know what happened, but it's really cool.
It is. It's fun to watch your channel grow.
I think it's just because, being here for a while. It's the only thing I can figure out.
Yeah, and being consistent with posting, which you've certainly done. I tried to push this with my viewers before today's show, just to say, hey, show up and be a viewer over there. Oh, another tip I can leave is that while I'm doing these little bits and pieces, corner, and I mentioned the edge of contrast, where dark meets light.
Yeah.
That's where an eye tends to see detail. Also, a great place for dark contrast is corners. Like see right there. And sometimes just a tap. You don't have to.
You don't mean the corner of the paper.
I don't mean a corner of the paper. I mean like a little recessed corner like there. Or here at the bottom of this tree where we have light highlights there. And it's not a line, it's just a little piece of dark value. And you'd be surprised.
All right, Steve, now the audience is getting antsy. Now all of a sudden they're starting to direct your painting. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay, now this is dangerous. B Medley says, look good. Stop.
I know.
But Carl S says you should put a wash of blue behind the tree foliage that would create a lake in the background instantly.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think I see it as a lake anyway.
Yeah, what I would need to do, let's try, is flatten it out. And see, there's too much of a lakes, especially in the distance, are never curved. They're always flat as a pancake.
Joe Paquette told me that. He said, even if you see a curve, always make it straight.
Yeah, so what I can do is flatten that out. It does kind of look like a lake. Let's give it a shoreline. Why not?
All right, see?
I don't, because it's so distant, though, I don't want to add a lot of detail or I'll mess up.
Yeah, well, your focal point is your trees.
Yes.
I see it as a lake already, but we'll see what happens here.
Maybe bring, maybe some of the land curves around here. Don't want it to get too dark.
Okay, Carl, if he screws it up, it's your fault.
Full name and address, Carl.
John Patricus says, does anybody ever watch DVDs anymore? We have a site called painttube.tv where we have produced over 700 art instruction courses, and surprisingly about 40% still buy DVDs. Even though we stream, we have an app. We would rather everybody stop buying DVDs because it's a hassle to mail them, and you can get them instantly. So those of you who are buying DVDs, stop it. Start streaming. But that's okay. We'll keep doing it. All the other companies that do this stop selling DVDs because it's easier. But it's not about being easy. It's about giving people what they want.
Just
Gail
trying to
says, thank you
pull the
for
land
continuing to
around.
find incredible artists. You're welcome, Gail. Thank you. Linda Marie Crabb says her DVD player finally kicked the bucket. Good time to start streaming, Linda.
That's right. There you go.
All right, Steve, I think we're going to wrap it because we got to bring you back on camera so everybody can see your smiling face.
Okay.
and then we're going to wrap it. But that was really a good lesson. Thank you so much. If you guys liked it, make sure to give a like or an applause or something or a comment so that he feels the love. Steve, you're awesome. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you on stage, the watercolor stage at the Plein Air Convention.
Yes.
And so that's a good reason enough to come. But if you're like a watercolor fanatic, we have this year, we have a pre-convention workshop with Joseph Zbukvich from Australia, who some say is the best watercolor artist in the world, and are certainly one of the top ones. And so that would be pretty cool. We also have Scott Christensen doing a pre-convention workshop, and we have a basics course for those newbie plein air painters. We have that with Kerry Curran and others. So it's cool. Steve, thank you for being here today.
I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, don't go away. I want to tell you about something that's really cool. As a matter of fact, this is long, but just watch it. You're going to be blown away. My favorite thing to do in the world is to travel the world. And I started doing these events years ago. I took a group of people to Cuba when we were not allowed to go to Cuba. We got special permission. And then I took another group to Cuba a second time. And I think I took 100, 150 people the first time. The second time I said, that's too many people. And I took maybe 50 people. So I've taken groups to Japan, painted plein air in Japan and cherry blossom time. I've taken groups to New Zealand 2 different times, taken groups to Africa, and we are going to travel the world together. And these are great trips because what I try to do is combine tourism plus painting. So we try to do painting at least once every day, sometimes twice a day, but we also do things like visit museums or visit a few of the tourist attractions and things like that. It makes a really great experience. The other thing that makes this experience really wonderful is you really get close to people. When you travel with them for a week, you're in the bus together, you're painting together, looking over some beautiful area, you just make memories. And some of the people that I've met on these trips have become some of my favorite people. And they're people that end up keep coming back year after year. And then when somebody new comes in, they just kind of join the club and everybody gets to know each other and everybody's really friendly with one another. We're having a blast. We're having a lot of fun. We're painting a beautiful area. But I have a whole list of places, and I got a list of places from a lot of the people who've attended, and we have worked on giving you the places that you most want to go. The #1 place on our survey was Switzerland. And it wasn't just, hey, we want to go to Switzerland and see the places everybody goes in Switzerland, you know, the big cities. No. Everybody wants to paint the Swiss Alps. They want to paint the small villages with the church steeples. So we want to have the Matterhorn in the background or the Jungfrau in the background. We want to have the spring flowers in the front and the cows and paint in these villages. And so I've put together a special painting trip that's coming up in the fall. This trip is limited to 50 people. And we're going to put on our lederhosen. No, we're not really going to do that, but we're going to put on our paints and we're going to go out there in the fall when it's still warm enough, and yet we're going to get the beauty of the fall colors and we're going to get the beauty of Switzerland. Now, that's not all. You may say, okay, Switzerland is enough. And you're right, Switzerland is enough. But there's some more things we want to do too, right? Because we're close to some other areas. We're close enough to one of the most beautiful lakes in the world that we're going to go to Lake Como. You've seen hundreds of beautiful paintings of the villas and the mountains of Lake Como. We're going to go to Lake Como to paint, and we might even make our way over to the lake next door, which is Lake Gardia. We're working on that. We'll figure that part out yet, but we're going to go to Lake Como. And then, if that's not enough, we've put together a post trip. That means you can go to just the Switzerland Lake Como part, or you can add the post trip. And the post trip, we're going to go to Venice. We're going to take the train down to Venice, and we're going to paint in Venice for 4 days. Because John Singer Sargent did it. Everybody wants to paint Venice. I want to paint Venice. I painted there. I can't paint there enough. It's so wonderful to stand there and paint the beautiful chapels and the beautiful scenery and the boats and the people and the color. It's just magnificent. So that's this year's trip. And I want you to look at the details on the website. And I want you to ask yourself this: when am I ever going to get to go and spend 10 days painting with a group of friends and painting what I love? And then ask yourself, would I like to have something to look forward to? Yes, check that box. Would I like to go on a trip and paint Switzerland with friends? Yes, check that box. And all you got to do is be one of the first 50 people to sign up. Now, I will tell you this, that I mentioned it to a couple of friends of mine before we've even announced the trip, and they've already signed up. Now that the details are out, the website's right here. Go ahead and check it out and go ahead and sign up. You will not regret this. And by the way, we make these luxury trips. We really make them nice. We stay in nice places. We eat great meals. We will visit some touristy places to scratch that itch. And we're going to have a great time at Paint Switzerland. I'll see you there. Well, okay. Well, we hope you'll go. We had a lot of people sign up last week or this week. I don't remember, whenever we launched it. And so we're getting excited, and it's going to be absolutely spectacular. And, if you're one of those people like, well, I'll go the next time you go, don't count on it, because I got a list of places I want to go. And so I don't like to repeat things very often. I might repeat something someday, but you should go when you can, right? We should go when we're healthy, when we know we can go, because you never know what's going to happen in the future, right? So let's do it. Okay, well, you guys, it's been great. Steve has been a rock star today. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel and be sure to subscribe to this one. That'd be really terrific. And we're here every weekday at 12 noon. We love you guys. We want to learn. We want to teach. We want to learn too, but we want to teach you how to paint if you don't know how, and we want to help you get next level. And then if you want to really go next level, we've got other things we can tell you about in the future. But anyway, we love having you here. Thank you for giving us your time today. We're really honored that you would do that. I got a lot of stuff coming up. Got a big event coming up in the Plein Air Convention is in June. Then we have my Publishers Invitational Retreat in June as well. And then I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to China for 3 weeks. I'm actually shooting a documentary in China. And then I'm coming back, taking a little time off. And then Fall Color Week is going to be happening in Door County. I saw somebody from Door County, Wisconsin on the chat. And nobody knows what Door County is because it's only known to people in the Midwest, but it's absolutely stunning. So if you're in the chat and you're from Door County, tell people what it's like, because it's like the Cape Cod of the Midwest. Stunning color. And then we've got all kinds of other things going on. I think in September we have Pastel Live, and then in November we have Plein Air Live, and then in January we have Watercolor Live, and we have just all kinds of stuff. And we're announcing soon 3 new events. We're very busy people, if you can imagine. So you got to stay here. You got to check our emails. We're always coming up with new things because we want to give you, we're trying to be like Disney for artists, right? Give you things to do, things that are fun, where you can be with other artists, get to know them, where you can grow, where you can build, we can be together. So I hope you'll be part of our family. Thanks for watching today. Bye-bye.